Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for tuning back in. Glad you can make it. Hope you guys are doing good and having a great day. Yesterday was a good break. It was a really good break. It was definitely needed. Well, the break that I took, because as you saw, or perhaps you saw in some of my posts, I ended up making a new subreddit. With MLMs. So I'd highly advise you go check that out. Um, and speaking of that, that's actually going to be what we're talking about today. And more specifically, so about leaving an MLM and helping you guys to leave. Um, and so there's a few things to it, but the biggest one is breaking away from the uh, psychological and emotional manipulation. And I want to start there. When you get into an MLM, almost immediately they begin to uh, twist your psyche. And I say that because they try their damnness to convince you that they're trustworthy. And when they do that, at that point, they begin warping your mind through these quote unquote training videos, right? These um, educational videos, right? They call them audios. Maybe called something different depending on your MLM specifically, but I know specifically for Amway they're called audios, right? And these audios are typically a bunch of motivational, inspirational clips or tidbits that are taken from stage performances, is what I like to call them. Um, and they are useless essentially because they don't really teach you anything. They don't teach you any intricate details on how to be necessarily successful. Now some of the information, it is good because what they do is they take a little bit of truth, right, and they warp it in a way that benefits them. And so that's how they suck you in, right? That's how they pull you in and keep you in, because then they will continue to throw that truth right in your face. But but what's behind that truth is something that's a lot more sinister, right? And it's something that you're not aware of until you start asking questions. And when you start asking questions, then things really begin to fall apart. And so, as any cult does, um, they will begin to berate you, right? Either with more truth twisted with lies or just outright lies. Um, and it could be that, well, I mean, for the majority, that maybe your upline doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. Maybe they're just as clueless as you are. The thing with MLMs is that for the company owners, right, to benefit, they would have to make sure that whoever is at the bottom, right, of the pyramid, is going to stay confused, and lost in the quote unquote plan, right? And so they intentionally try to confuse you to keep you wrapped up in this cycle, right? But once you start doing your research, as I highly advise you guys do, maybe you are in and you're trying to find specific resources to help you, realize what in the fuck is going on, right? And so, I'm glad that you came here, because then I can also point you to a book called Ponzi-nomics, by I think it's Robert Fitzpatrick. I think that's his name. Um, I'm still fresh on the book, so forgive me if I get the name wrong. But I'll be sure to link a description where you can go, to Amazon and get it. But And then there's also another YouTuber, a bigger YouTuber that's been doing this a lot longer than I have, right? But he goes by Always Marco, and he has a lot of information, a lot of information. He's been doing this for years, as I said, and he's also talked to the author of Ponzinomics, Robert Fitzpatrick. Um, Again, I'll make sure I get the name. If I do have the name right, there won't be a correction. But if I don't have the name right, I'll be sure to correct it, right, in the description as well. But everything starts to fall apart when you do your research, right? But that comes only after you start asking questions. Do not go and ask questions to them. Go and ask questions to yourself, okay? Because you leave yourself vulnerable when you go and ask them questions. Um, and so the reason I say that is because when I started asking questions, right, there was a specific product, right, the XS energy drinks, that I, wanted some more information on so I could sell them better. Um, as any good salesperson would want to do, right, to know your product very, very, very well so that you can be able to sell it. Um, and I go to my upline and I say, "Hey, man, what's the deal with these energy drinks? Who made them? Because they had told me that a marathon runner had developed these, um, but I had specific questions, and immediately, right, my upline tried to shut me down, and tell me that it doesn't matter who developed it. What matters is that the marathon runner developed it, and you don't really need to put a name with a face. Said, well, that's a little weird. That's actually really weird. And so I began to do my research there, um, and that's what eventually took me to a couple of subreddits. Um, Unfortunately, the one that I was involved in isn't really a lot of help. Because they give you such a constraint on when you can quote unquote promote, your socials, which I think is stupid. Um, but people people need the resources, right, to get out of this financial graveyard essentially. And when you restrict um, up and coming influencers or influencers in general who want to make a change and help people, you're not helping the fucking situation. So my my frustration is with the moderators. It's not with the people on Reddit at all. Um, and so I was actually banned because I violated that rule. That and being disrespectful because I called women out on their low emotional intelligence. Not all women, of course, but most women today we know, right, have low. I'm going on a tangent. Anyways, I had started a Reddit, a subreddit that I will also link in the description here. I highly advise you guys go check that out for up and coming, YouTubers or just YouTubers in general, influencers in general. You are more than welcome to come to that subreddit and post whatever you need to, right? Whatever sources you have to, whatever resources you can give, for people to help them get out. So a little bit of a segue there, but I think it's important, right? Anyways, uh, yeah. So um, I began to start doing my research, and a lot of things just fell apart, right? This opportunity that they sell to you is absolute horseshit. Um, Once you realize that it's absolute horseshit, right? Make sure that you have as much evidence as you need, okay? And then some to justify you leaving, right? Um, Now, you come first, right? So get enough information that you need to leave. And then if they start asking questions, maybe you can throw a little bit of evidence there, but it's not really needed. Um, it's good to help others if they're just as lost as you are. You know, like there was a girl that got signed in around the same time that I did, right? And it's called crosslining. Is when your upline, um, or if there are two peers that have different uplines, right? That's called, and you talk with them, right? Or you have some kind of a discussion, right? They are considered your cross line, right? They're considered your peers. What's really interesting is that MLMs will stop you from talking privately with your peers, your cross lining, in order to prevent negativity, right? Or just asking fucking questions. That's why I tell you, don't ever go to an upline, right? Don't go to your upline at all about questions. If you have questions, you find the answers, you're on your own, because then that's going to take you down a rabbit hole of finding out what the fuck MLMs are in the first place, right? So upon reading Ponzinomics, which I will actually do on this channel. I haven't gotten my paper book copy yet, but as soon as that comes in, I'm going to be starting another series on reading Ponzinomics, because we're going to go ahead and get into a lot of the history of MLMs and what they are now, very specifically. So, um, but it all started with Neutralite. um, Neutralite began to implement a mixture of, if I remember correctly, the Ponzi scheme where people would donate for specific reasons. And then a guy by the name of Ponzi would pocket that. And then what would happen is other people would donate, and the first people who donated would make a complaint, and then they would refund the people making the complaints with the new donors money. And so there was a huge federal lawsuit about that. um, and the thing is now that MLMs operate in a different way, but that's going off on a tangent again. um, they eventually came to making their money off of their recruits, right? Um, and the reason why they're so good at maintaining that stream of income is because they're able to keep people confused. Again, research. And they will give you all kinds of bullshit, um, in hopes that you believe it, right? And so when you are leaving, they will continue to throw all kinds of shit at you. I remember when I was leaving, um, my upline reached out to me and love bombing the shit out of me. Oh, I'm worried about you. You know, I want to make sure you're okay. Heard some weird things about you, and all kinds of shit, man. And they will, at first, they will love bomb you, right? I mean, it's just like any other manipulative person. They will love bomb you, and when that doesn't work, then they will resort to other tactics, outright lying, um, perhaps becoming more aggressive, maybe more passive aggressive, um, and the hardest thing to do, right, is when you formed an attachment with people in these MLMs. Could be a friendship, could be a romantic relationship, could be maybe some kind of brotherhood, sisterhood kind of deal. Um, and so when using these tactics to try and hook you back in, that is when the battle really starts, right? Because then they may grab onto something that will then convince you to question yourself. And so, what you have to do in that point in time, this is why I was um, talking to you about the evidence. You stick to that evidence, okay? You stand very firm on it. You realize that what they're doing is, whether conscious about it or not, they're doing exactly what you found out on, or through your research, what they're doing now, right? Which is the emotional psychological manipulation to keep you hooked. The reason I say that is because my upline had come over to return something to me, and I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm out. He said, "Oh well, that's fine, man. Just what can you, can you stay? Like, I'll still be friends with you, man. I'll still be friends with you. We're still good buddies. We can go out to the range and shoot, and um, um, you can still at least stay plugged into the educational portions, right? The audios and stuff." And I said, "No." At a point in time during the conversation, I got aggravated enough and fed up with the bullshit. And I said, "Listen, man, we're going to cut the bullshit. I did a lot of research, and I'm not exactly happy right now." And so um, he kept on talking about his business and defending the company, and I abruptly said, "I see you as a liar, and I see your upline as a fucking liar. So you're going to leave my property, and we're done." He said, "Okay," and he left. Sometimes you have to take that approach. Actually, more often than not, you have to take that approach when it comes, especially when it comes to cults, and especially for MLMs. Um, that's why I tell you, do your research, stand firm, right, on the things that you found out, because it's the truth, right? Most people don't make any money. 99.99% either lose money outright or they don't make any money at all. And that's by design. That is by design. Okay? Because the only money that you can ever really make is through recruitment. But it's protected in such a way that the people at the top are the ones that benefit, the one percenters. And so, or even less than 1%. So, when you once you find all this stuff out, it's just the battle of the psychological manipulation and emotional, manipulation. That's what you really have to fight through, because again, they will love bomb you. They will bombard you with a bunch of bullshit, um, and they will act in disguise, right? Hiding their maliciousness, whether conscious or not. So, typically, the ones who have been in, for quite a few years, perhaps know already what they're doing, but maybe they don't, right? Um, Stay firm on yourself, but also stay neutral. Okay, I say that because there are people that have been in for years and they are clueless. It's not that they're unintelligent or that they're dumb, but they're just their brains have already been scrambled so much so that they don't really understand what's going on. And the longer you are in, the more your brain will get fried, or the more they will scramble your brain. Okay. Um, Again, that's the thing with these MLMs is they start the brainwashing early. They really do, because they get ahead of the game by saying that, outright saying that they're not a pyramid scheme, that their business is legitimate, specifically for Amway since it's been around so long, and has actually won cases, federal cases, um, that has, awarded them um, legitimacy. Definitely not through lobbying and rewording of things, but um, it, they beat you to the punch, essentially. And for those of you who don't do your research beforehand, going into some of these meetings or gatherings, wherever the fuck they want to call it, um, you're at a huge disadvantage. At a huge disadvantage, because it's easy for them to really control the way you think, and this happens for anybody, right? Doctors, businessmen, anybody. Okay, it's not just the financially destitute. It's not just the desperate. It's not just the naive. They can get anybody, because it's a belief system is what keeps you in. It's not anything to do with financials or anything like that. It's the belief system. That's what keeps you in. Well, that's what brings you in, and that's what keeps you there. So that's why I was telling you, when you find the evidence, right? When you do your research, and when you believe in yourself, that's another thing too. When you believe in yourself enough, you can rely on yourself and the evidence that you have found to combat that um, that emotional psychological manipulation. um, you can then begin to undo the brainwashing. So, and I was only in for a few weeks, not even a month. And um, even I, you know, struggled a little bit, right, to do the research and stuff. So make sure that you are taking care of yourself in that regard. Always question every single thing. Every single thing. If you don't do the research on your own, to come to your own conclusions, to see things with your own eyes and ears and nose, if you don't rely on yourself, you're at the mercy of everyone else around you. So, but stick with yourself. Don't fall. Do not fall for the manipulation. Don't do it. Um, you got this. You're a lot stronger than what you think you are, right? You don't need them, but they need you. Oh, they need you because they need to make money, right? But you don't need them. You need yourself. Okay. Um, make friends outside of the MLM. Um, thank goodness I had a few friends outside of the MLM that, had some information, because it really helped. It was a huge support. So the support was absolutely massive when I needed it. So um, that's important. It's critical, actually, that you have perhaps family as well, but friends on the outside that can really help you see things objectively, right? So um, now for the financials. I really hate to tell you guys, but unfortunately, whatever you lost is going to be really hard for you to get back. Now, you can file lawsuits. Absolutely, you can. MLMs have been sued, and the hard part about getting money back after this whole ordeal is that you would have to fight the legal system. It's not just the MLMs that you're fighting the entire legal system itself, because the legal system is protecting these MLMs, specifically because of the lobbying with the politicians. Um, and guys, don't get it wrong, man. These are both Republicans and Democrats who are actively taking money from these MLMs. Even Walt Disney, or not Walt Disney, but because he's been dead for years, or in cryo sleep, waiting to wake up. um, but um, even even Disney has been promoting MLMs, MLM products. Sensi, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Sensi. They've been promoting their products, right? So you begin to realize just how prevalent these MLMs are. Even Donald Trump himself was promoting MLMs for 10 years. He was a spokesperson for ACN. Just found that out recently. Um, and so you could say, oh, well, maybe people have a change of heart. Where are the Epstein files? Why is the government continuing to get bigger? Why is the debt being raised? Why are we preparing for another conflict in the Middle East? I don't think he's really changed that much. So, also, there's nothing being done for the fucking veterans who have been kicked out of the military for refusing the fucking vaccine. And I highly believe that had he won another term right back in 2020, like, he should have done, but the election was definitely stolen. Anyways, he would have definitely done the same thing. There definitely would have been a mandate, and I highly believe that. I really do. I really do. These guys aren't saviors. These guys are not saviors. Betsy DeVos, who is tied to one of the founders of Amway, was in his cabinet in his first term. Right. And the only reason he stopped promoting MLMs, well, when he stopped promoting MLMs is the very year, or perhaps the year before. No, the very year that he announced he was running for president. So listen, guys, doesn't matter who you vote for, they still hate you, Republican or Democrat. It is what it is, man. So, but again, going off on a tangent. You guys know I like to do that. So yeah, unfortunately, you're gonna have to. It's an uphill battle for sure, right? And for those of you who have lost maybe a few hundred, couple $100, like I did, I'm not really gonna worry too much about that. There's nothing that you can really do about it, anyways. Again, if you wanted to file a lawsuit, again, that's the legal battle. But I would say for the most part, unfortunately, that money is just gone. It's just gone. Because as far as the legality is concerned, this was a voluntary, right? Or I should say a consensual transaction. And so I think that's how it's going to be seen in court as well. Now, if you have a good lawyer, right, that can really explain the how things are withheld, then you might have a fight there. But again, they're protected. So, just really nothing you can do unless policies are changed. Um, but yeah, you're just gonna have to cut your losses and move on from it. That's why I didn't really touch on the finances as much. So, but whatever you do, if there is a some kind of life policy that um, that you get, because I've seen a lot of people get life insurance, and I've gotten payments that way. Do not ever mention to them about anything like that, because then that's going to be a really good uh, then you become a really good target. I've seen that happen a lot. Seen that happen a lot. Then taking advantage of your life insurance policy or someone else's life insurance policy. Or is it life insurance, or is it because life insurance is what pays you out when you or someone else dies, right? Um, so, but anyways, any kind of payout from another entity, maybe an insurance organization, right? Or maybe from like myself, being a disabled veteran from the VA. Um, don't tell anybody about that shit. Don't tell anybody about that shit, because if people know that you have money, especially people who are in MLMs, those who do know the plan, right? Um, will take advantage of you, right? And since your brain is already so fried from everything, you become an easy target. So, but the biggest the biggest fight that you're going to have when you leave is just the undoing of the brainwashing, the emotional and psychological scarring that's going to be left behind. And so therapy is probably going to be in the future for sure. Um, and I would definitely rely heavily on friends, family, and some kind of professional help. Also, a really good support network, maybe not just friends or family, but also here on the home turf. You're more than welcome here. I'm a victim as well, so you're more than welcome to talk with me. Any way I can help you out, I'm going to. Okay, that's why I'm offering um, my own subreddit to you guys. Um, any kind of as well as the book, um, and so and as well as my time. And so I do that to help you guys out because I know how it is. I don't want anybody to be in that situation. But unfortunately, since the economics of today has been putting us in such a dire situation, more and more people are becoming vulnerable, and more people are becoming victims. So, but any way I can help you guys out, I'm going to. All right. Uh, just make sure, whatever you do, that you are sure of yourself and stay firm, right, on what you believe. Stay firm on the evidence that you have found. Um, and don't ever let someone convince you to question yourself. Okay. Um, don't fall for the psychological manipulation. So, and get help. Get help. So that's going to go ahead and wrap it up, guys. Um, if I was able to help this, if this video was able to help you guys out, and I was able to help you, um, please support the channel here. Like, share, subscribe. I greatly appreciate that, guys. This channel is here for so many different people, um, but there's a lot of people that need this message too, right? And so please help by sharing this message. Okay, help by sharing this, because I want this message to spread like wildfire, because there's not a lot of talk on MLMs today. There's not a lot of talk at all. I had no idea what MLMs were even when I got into one, I had no idea what MLMs were. So please, 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 please help by sharing this, right? And the way that you can help support the channel is by liking, sharing, and commenting. Okay. Now subscribers help as well, but to push this message further and further into the mainstream, right? YouTube, the algorithm on YouTube um, promotes heavily engaged videos. So please, 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 please engage heavily with the video, okay? So I appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure you are taking care of yourselves, okay? Take care of yourselves, both mind and body, especially when you finally break away from an MLM or you have a friend or a family member who is breaking away from an MLM. It's rough. It's rough. It really is. And so they're going to need you. Okay, they're going to need you, and that's where you take care of others as well. All right. So again, take care of yourselves, both mind and body. Take care of each other too. If someone's having a rough day in the comment section, please lift them up. All right, guys. Again, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon.